Good morning, everybody, and welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 20th of January. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Stevie Clifford. How's it going, Stevie?
I'm all right, Derek. I hope everyone is well this Monday morning.
Yep, absolutely. Of course, a Rangers win, as expected, of course, yesterday against Fraserburgh. So Rangers in the hat for the next round. That draw takes place after the Dundee derby this evening. So it'll be interesting to see who Rangers will get. So there's plenty to talk about. A very newsworthy weekend with regards to Rangers on the pitch. Of course, we'll talk about the game and opportunities for several young players yesterday. I will also talk about a new signing, Rafael Fernandes, and potential departures as well. Before we crack on, though, we did lose two legendary characters of Scottish football over the weekend, so it's important to mention both honorary bears as well. Denis Law sadly passed away, who was probably arguably Scotland's greatest ever player, and sad news yesterday with the passing of Jimmy Calderwood at the age of 69. Former Aberdeen Dunfermline boss, spent time as a player over in Holland, and he was a good blue nose, was Jimmy. Sad news, Stevie, over the weekend. Two great figures, two iconic figures that left their mark on the Scottish game.
Yeah, absolutely, Derek. I think, do you know what? There's the serious side of it, and Denis Law, legendary figure. Famously wrote and said he's always a Ranger at heart and things like that. And Jimmy Calderwood, who was a cracking manager, really good manager, was at points
underrated,
talked about for Rangers as well. Really underrated, really good manager, bit of a sense of humour, and Johnny Watson depicted both of them on Only an Excuse. Growing up for me was always kind of seeing them both. Jimmy with a big orange tan and stuff like that, as Johnny Watson used to do it, and Denis Law with the big words and all that. Actually, Denis Law was a bit like listening to Johnny when he does the Rangers Review, when he talks about all these big words. And remember, he used to do the Italian accent and all that for Denis Law, and the Catenaccio and all that kind of stuff. And so growing up watching Johnny Watson do two brilliant characters from the Scottish game it was great. And but over, that's the light-hearted side of it. And I spoke to Johnny over the weekend about that, who's a really good guy, and he had a laugh with both of them about that. And look, Derek, it's just really sad news, really, really sad news. And we wish their families all the best. That's for sure.
Yeah, I certainly echo that. So rest in peace, Jimmy Calderwood and Denis Law, two fantastic figures of not only Scottish football, but the game as a whole. Let's move on to the news over the weekend. We'll start with the game, Stevie. Was interested to see who would be given an opportunity yesterday, given where Fraserburgh are, Highland League side. Incidentally, we'll start off by crediting them and their fan base, which were absolutely magnificent, heading down about just over 1,800, I think, of them. Made the long journey, 3.5 hours down to Ibrox for the game. And they were superb, certainly added a lot of colour to the match. And it was great to see the manager coming out afterwards and paying credit to Rangers and the way they were treated. He said that some of the boys in the dressing room were having the time of their lives because of their Rangers supporters. Loved seeing some images on Twitter as well last night. Philip Clement posing with a picture with some of the boys in the tunnel, which I thought was fantastic. And I've got to say, they certainly ran their hearts out yesterday. They fought, they battled. It was a good advert for the Highland League, you could say. I think certainly that first half, I mean, they did ride their luck, let's be honest, but they had a brilliant opportunity to equalise. Mason Munn, who made his Rangers debut with one moment that I'm sure he'll learn from, but they never took advantage of it. But as Blazing Blue rightly says, fair play to Fraserburgh, good support, well organised, and fitness not an issue. Rangers, of course, winning by 5 goals to 0. The opening goal coming from Cyril Dessers from a corner, no less. and it would be the first of his hat-trick, adding 2 more in the second half. Rangers running out convincing winners in the end in that game. We'll talk about Cyril Dessers in detail, I'm sure, because the manager had a lot to say, comments about his future in his post-match press conference. Clinton Enciala scored his first Rangers goal. Great strike from the edge of the area that helped by a deflection, of course, but he certainly enjoyed that one on 52 minutes. Dessers added his second, and then Ross McCausland got in on the act before Dessers, with probably the final kick of the ball, does well. Good finish, gets Rangers' 5th goal from an acute angle. But good to see a number of the young players touched on there. Mason Munn made his debut from the start. Zach Lovely started the game. I thought he showed up well. In the second half, we saw Finlay Curtis making his debut. I thought he looked bright. Had some pot shots on goal. Wasn't too far away. Bailey Rice also came close as well. I enjoyed watching him in a Rangers jersey. Also, I think that's probably the main takeaway, is getting these young boys run-outs at Ibrox. Stevie, what did you make of it all?
Yeah, look, same as you, Fraserburgh deserve loads of credit for the support and, the effort they put in. I think that the first half was well off, Derek. If I'm being entirely honest, in terms of a Rangers performance, I thought we were very much in training mode, and we just felt like it would come. There was a lot of laziness, I thought, throughout the pitch, which is neither, people might not agree with or not. I think because the second half we got a couple of goals and it turned out to be a more handsome scoreline. I don't think the first half was kind of acceptable. The manager touched upon it a wee bit, and that's just my own kind of personal opinion. It seemed like we were pretty laboured, especially when it got to the front three. There was very little going on up there. So second half, yeah, we scored a few goals. The bright spot was most definitely, look, Finlay Curtis, I think, grabbed his opportunity really well. We spoke about that, Derek, before, about his potential. Somebody that scores that amount of goals. He wasn't on the pitch for long, but had 3 efforts at goal.
Yep.
Bailey Rice came on, probably a good time for him where they had kind of slowed down quite a bit. And Bailey Rice is somebody that should be getting more first-team football. I've asked the manager in recent weeks on both Bailey Rice and Finlay Curtis. So, really pleased that they were both in. Mason Munn, we've spoke about him before, Derek. He signed a 4-year contract. There was interest from Arsenal. He's a very good young goalie. He does have moments where, he needs to maybe watch what he's doing, and he's had that before. I seen him get chipped at Stenhousemuir, very similar to what happened against Liam Kelly against Aberdeen. But he didn't manage to get back, and he's going to have wee moments like that. But I've also seen him made a number of really good saves and command his area too. So that's a learning curve. He got away with it. It's probably a really good learning curve in this kind of tiny game. And Jack Lovelace is somebody that, I really want to stay fit and really want to get a run in the squad and be on benches for a sustained period of time and be able to contribute. So aside that, Derek, it was a training game. I'm just a bit disappointed about how we went about our first half, because it was very meh. It's
Yeah.
And I get that people will just think that's critical or moaning for moaning's sake, but it was Fraserburgh, and we made the first half more difficult than it really needed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree, Stevie. The Rangers were in not only second gear, I think they were third or fourth gear in that first half. And wanted to see more. We did see goals in the second period. I think Rangers brightened up, I think, with the introduction of some of the young lads as well. I did want to see Finlay Curtis start the game. Was a bit disappointed not to see him start. I can understand why the manager opted for Ross McCausland out there on the right-hand side. I would have liked to have seen Bailey Rice start the game. I don't know what we get. I know that Mohamed Diamandi is suspended for Old Trafford, but I don't know what we learn with playing him in the middle. Can get Barron playing in there, of course. I'd imagine he will be starting on Thursday evening alongside Nico Raskin. Would you like to have seen a few of the young boys start the game, Steve, as opposed to just coming off the bench? I'm talking Rice, Curtis. Leon King came on off the bench with about 10 minutes remaining, but never really got a chance.
Yeah, of course I would. I understand why James Tavernier, played
Yeah.
or started the game, but 80 minutes and get him back up to speed, etc. But it just kind of, I look, I would have went for a few more of the kids and got the balance a bit more. But I also understand that it's a cup game, and Philip Clement needs to make sure he wins the game first, etc. So I get all that, and ultimately he'll tell you that he won 5-0, so his selection, etc. was fine. Would I have liked to see Bailey Rice start instead of Diamande? Would I have liked to have seen Leon King start? Yeah, but I think it's pretty clear, the more it goes on for Leon King, I think it's pretty clear that he's not really rated here, so he's going to have a question mark about what he does with his future. So, yeah, it was good. Concentrating on the positives, it was really good to see the cameo time that they did have. Finlay Curtis especially is an eye catcher. I've seen him, as I said, live in person 4 or 5 times this year, and there's people that have seen him a lot more than me, and they all speak really highly of him. So, yeah, Derek, I think that I would like to see them more involved. Would it really hurt, for them to be 8th and 9th on the substitute list on a match day? I don't think they add anything less to the squad than Kieran Dowell, Rabbi Matondo, etc., Tom Lawrence, these guys who have, we have learned in the last sort of week to 10 days or whatever that they are available. So I think that, we have to also try and progress these boys as well. So it's a great cameo for them. I just hope it continues. And in fairness to Clement, there's not really been loads of games where we could have put them in, but hopefully we see more of them.
Yep, I totally agree with that. Let's talk Dessers then. There's an interesting point that came in from James. He says, "Good day, Derek and Stevie and all the wonderful Rangers supporters. I was thinking with Dessers wearing the armband, I'm thinking he is away this month. Am I overthinking it?" This is, of course, when Tavernier was replaced. He went over and gave the armband to Cyril Dessers. I think... how many players have had the armband this season? There's been quite a few already. So, Dessers added to that long list. Now, in terms of his future, the manager was asked about Cyril in his post-match press conference and whether he could be heading for pastures new. This is what he had to say.
Difficult question, that one. If Cyril goes, you need to replace him. And it needs to be at least the same quality. If a player stays and he plays less and he becomes, because of that, unhappy and it goes down his level, what I don't fear with him, it's also not good for the club. So we will see in the next 2 weeks what happens. I know if he's here, he will give everything for the club. And if he leaves, he needs to be replaced by somebody at least from the same quality.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
We know he wants to play more football, Stevie, but he's finding that a little bit difficult at Rangers. The point Clement makes there, now I know English is not his primary language, but the same quality. I've seen some supporters sort of taking issue with that. If they're looking for the same quality, then they could be in trouble, despite him notching a hat-trick yesterday. What do you make of the Dessers situation at this moment in time? Do you think that could be the last time we see him at Ibrox, perhaps?
Brutally honest, Derek, if somebody comes in with the money, then Cyril Dessers should be moved on. It's quite simple. The manager's just given, standard answers there. For me, if Cyril Dessers does go, then you want to try and find the next up-and-coming youngster that's going to be able to come in. That's the pool of people we should be looking to sign. Igaman and Danilo are miles clear in ability and what they bring to the team. And Cyril Dessers, there was so many moments.
Danilo's injured, Stevie. That's the only thing. You can't rely on Danilo, unfortunately.
Danilo's got injuries during games, Derek. He got an injury to his face, an injury to his knee, and once again an injury against Aberdeen as well, which we thought at the time was a serious shoulder thing, but it turns out to be very minor. So, people are going to get knocks, but we overhype things. And I read some of the comments on Danilo last week, and I find them baffling, to be honest, because anybody that watches Rangers when Danilo's playing, the standard up front is miles better with Igaman than it is without Danilo. So, I don't agree with the criticism of Danilo in the slightest. He takes big chances. He scored big goals, especially against Celtic. He's got a couple, and we've seen other strikers miss chance after chance after chance in these games. He doesn't. He had one chance in the cup final. He took it brilliantly. He had one chance at New Year, and he took it as well. So these are the games where people are judged. And I think the criticism of him is massively harsh. So he's just the other two compared with Cyril Dessers. Here's a prime example of, the first half yesterday, he scored a header from a corner, but he contributed nothing to the game overall up front. He didn't hold the ball up. He didn't make runs. He didn't offer anything. He was lazy. The amount of wee flicks he tried and the amount of finishes that he just never got away or he didn't try was frustrating to me. In the second half, there was occasions where he went through and you're looking at him to be decisive and stuff, and he wasn't. And I just think, and as harsh as it might be to a guy that got a hat-trick, I just think that if there's any money available out there and somebody comes in with it, £3-4 million for Cyril Dessers, then the honest truth is I'd be shaking his hand and saying thanks for everything. The manager says that, we should be looking for better quality than him or the same quality. In my opinion, we should be trying to find the next one, who's going to be ready in 8-9 months to try and make the same impact that Eagleman has. Now, that's really difficult because I think Eagleman's a 1 in a million kind of hit, but we should be aiming for that style of player, and at the very least, we should be trying to get better than what we've got already. So, truthfully, Derek, if the money comes in, I would be shaking his hand and saying thanks very much, because this isn't based on one game; it's based on 18 months and things like that. And the stat, people always go back to stats and what players bring you and stuff like that. When you watch Hamza Eagleman, he passes the eye test. He excites you. He's got control. He holds it up. He fashions his own chances, etc. Danilo finishes. He plays in between the posts. He links up. He's much better movement all around. These guys pass the eye test, and meanwhile others in the team don't. So I think it's an important month to at least get 2 or 3 out the door. And Cyril Dessers, again, as polarising as the opinion might be, he will score goals for you, but I don't think he scores the very big chances. And I think that if a team come in, then I'd be shaking his hand and saying, again, thanks very much. Just my opinion, Derek, is, listen, as harsh as it might be, I just don't think he's of the quality that's expected.
Yep. My issue would be I wouldn't want them to sell him if they don't have a replacement lined up. The thing with Dessers is you can rely on him being fit for pretty much every single game. Danilo, I get your point on that. I think he is a quality player. Issue is we need to see him on the pitch more. He is. I think he does help the team with regards to fluidity, movement, shape, all that sort of stuff. But we need him on the park, and Dessers certainly has that over Danilo, that he's always available. So, if he has to move on, I agree. If there's a good bit of money coming in for him, then a shake of the hands and move him on. But we need to get someone else as Clement says there, same quality. I'd rather someone that comes in that doesn't have you tearing your hair out every game. Would be beneficial, or scratching your face if you're Pep Guardiola, shall we say? But those of a less that are follically challenged, shall we say? But it will be interesting to see what the future holds with regards to Cyril Dessers. And then coming over the weekend, he was introduced at Ibrox yesterday, Stevie, was that of the centre half Rafael Fernandes. He's joined on loan from Lille until the remainder for the rest of the season. Rangers have an option to buy at the end of his loan spell, but Philippe Clement has admitted he is not directly ready to play. Speaking prior to the game yesterday, he says, I was very happy that we believe in his potential. He's not somebody who will be directly ready. He played almost nothing in the past year, but the scouting team saw him play the year before in Portugal. I saw also several games from then. He is showing great attributes. He's fast, he's good passing, he's powerful, he's young and athletic. We had good information from Lille, from players who were training with him. So I think in the circumstances where we had to look for players, he'll be a good signing. We have him now for 6 months on loan, and we can test him and see how he is as a person and see if he'll be ready for Rangers in the future. We believe in his potential, and now we have 6 months to look at that. And if we all agree that he has a potential, then we have the buying option. This, just reading between the lines, Stevie, it looks like Rangers planning for next season, given that he's not ready just now.
I was kind of laughing a wee bit because I can't remember the last time we signed somebody and it was just like, yeah, he can play on Saturday. Listen, I'm quite pleased with it because we needed somebody, and excited to see what he can bring. You want to give him a chance, and especially the pace side of it is, pacey, powerful is really quite appealing, especially in Scotland. That's exactly what you need. We missed that throughout the team. But then I listened to Clement, and he just kind of takes the wind out of my sails a wee bit when it comes to it. And he's talking about, it's great, and we have to get somebody because we're looking for somebody. I've not seen him in over a year, and it's like, Philippe, man, honestly. So it's just, I don't know if he tries to downplay expectations a wee bit and give them a chance.
If you remember, Stevie, same Egeman, I remember in the summer.
Yeah, and Enciala, we were told, was a B team signing and nowhere near ready and stuff like that. And that's the only thing, I think that Clinton Enciala has progressed surprisingly well in the first team. And I wouldn't want to kind of stifle that. So I would want him to get as much game time as possible. He's our player, so I wouldn't want this to come at the expense of Clinton Enciala. And I know that Clinton Enciala will make mistakes and he'll have tough tests, and there'll be bigger games where this old-fashioned kind of Scottish striker will really trouble him. But I would like to see him play a lot more games to the close of the season where there's very little to play for domestically at this point in the league, certainly. So I want Clinton Enciala to play, and I don't really want it to come at the expense of Rafael Fernandes in terms of that. But could he play beside him, Derek? Could he... they're both young. Could we get that balance right? Is he going to be good enough to provide cover and stuff like that? So, it makes sense. And Clement's right in a way where he says, we had to shop in a pool of players where it's really difficult to get somebody in January, etc. I understand all that. So it might turn out this guy's a gem. I happen to think that Coppin, can be trusted to an extent of what he's doing and his eye for a player. So just need to wait and see. It's great he's here. It's it's a positive that we've got somebody in the door, and I just I just wish it wasn't always haven't seen him in a year and he hasn't played a lot of football and he needs to come in the team, etc. And that just kind of deflates it a wee bit from my point of view.
Yeah, here's a new signing, but that's the thing, isn't it? We want to see him hit the ground running.
Maybe just speak differently about it. Here's a new signing. Really pleased to have him in. Looking to integrate him with the squad and the first team, and we'll look to get him involved in the coming weeks. That's it. Like, I just think it can be handled or said differently, and then we're all kind of more positive about it than perhaps reading that and just going, well, that's fairly deflating. So
Stephen with the point says, watched a video on Fernandes. Kid looks Sakala rapid, by the way. So, if he's got pace, then hunky-dory, because Rangers lack that in the back line. There's an interesting point actually came in from Denzel. He raised an issue. I'll try and flag it up just on the defence in yesterday's game. He says, given Fernandes can't play at the moment, I'm surprised that Balogun didn't get minutes yesterday. We're down to the bare bones if anything happens to yesterday's centre-backs. Were you surprised not to see Balogun, given he's just coming back from injury, Stevie, and with Old Trafford on the horizon?
Not really, no, because I think Balogun's vital. And, with being down to bare bones, remember, there's no Enciala on Thursday night, as far as we know. And I think that you'll need his experience in there as well. And I wasn't surprised, especially just coming back there. He proved that, he was fine after Aberdeen, and and he got a sort of 20 minutes there. That'll be enough. And I don't think Leon Balogun can play, every game and every week. And listen, he's a great big guy, somebody that I think brings a lot to the squad and stuff like that. So it's certainly not a criticism, but I just think it was the right thing to do, not to risk him. But let's be honest, the centre backs were fine. They weren't overly troubled. A couple of times they had to get back in to get the ball, but it was a fairly comfortable performance. We should have been able to play the youngsters at the back, no problem. I'm probably more surprised that Robin Propper played as much as Leon Balogun getting rested. Leon King should have been playing yesterday, Derek. Let's be honest with you. He should have started. He should have played the game. I think the fact that he didn't, as I said before, speaks absolute volumes on where Philippe Clement is in terms of Leon King.
Yeah, he has to move for the sake of his career.
I think he does, Derek. I think that's clear. I think he does. And from our point of view, selfishly, I go on about it a lot, resource-wise and stuff like that. If you're not using a boy like that, then we're better to try and find him something for his own sake.
Yep, totally agree. Other news over the weekend, it came from the embargoed section of Clement's pre-match press conference, was the news on Yanis Hagi. And Adi is just great timing. He says, discuss the Hagi contract at jaw-dropper admission, please, Derek. We'll talk about it right now, because the manager on Hagi's situation said he will be at the end of his contract at the end of the season. So there will be negotiations around that, if it's possible or not, on the topic of an extension. I don't have a clue what numbers Yanis has in mind, or the club, so that's discussions between them. Of course, I'm happy with what he's been performing. I knew him already from before. There was the situation before the season that was out of my hands. So that is what he had to say on the issue on Yanis Hagi. What do you make of it, Stevie? Can you see him going in the summer?
It's totally unnecessary, Derek. Like, totally unnecessary for us to be discussing that. And he's got a contract clause, which means we can extend it. So I would have went about it differently and just says, look, Yanis has a contract clause. We're discussing whether or not he wants to stay and what the future holds surrounding him. But Rangers hold all the aces, and we have a contract extension. All we've basically done by that conversation is let everybody know that Yanis is available in the summer for free. And I think I'm not sure I agree with that. That's all I'll say on it. I also think that Philippe Clement has rewritten history a bit when it comes to Yanis Hagi. He sat in front of a press conference. Myself and Chris sat next to each other. Joshua was there. And he categorically stated that Yanis Hagi was not a player that he saw as his number 10 now or in the future at any time. And he was quite blunt about it. He wouldn't be back in the first team and he wouldn't be playing. Mm-hmm. So there was definitely a situation that was completely roles reversed. And to be fair to Yanis has come in and made quite a good impact. And I'm not going to rewrite history, but I think that I'm not his biggest fan. But I think if we lose Yanis Hagi in the summer, when there is interest surrounding him, and he is somebody that you could theoretically, Derek, get his extension and then make him available and try and recoup something, even if you try and did it this way. I just think sometimes he says too much. And I don't think he needed to be talking about that Yanis Hagi situation. If he's asked the question,
be more cute about it.
I would have just handled it differently. Yanis Hagi's our player. We've got a year contract extension option in the summer. And we'll be having discussions with him in the upcoming months. What's so difficult about that? It's then a non-event. He handles stuff about transfers and outgoings and things really well. He just says, look, I'm not going to discuss that and I won't talk about rumours. But then when you look at how he handled Cantwell and how he spoke about other players, I just wonder at times, he knows more than me. Maybe there's issues with Yanis Hagi surrounding contracts and he's made it public to try and kind of swing a decision somewhere along the lines, but I don't know, Derek. Maybe people might be telling me I'm unfair, but I just didn't think it was necessary to go into it like that.
It's certainly split opinion in the comments just on the Hagi, whether folk would like him to stay at Rangers or not. But I agree with you with the comments. There was a point made by Blazing Blue 72 says Clement had to stick to the party line. Again, he could have phrased it better, like when he was speaking about it before, saying that there's an issue with the club and Hagi. But that's why it was such a big surprise when he was reintegrated into the first team at the time, because I don't think anyone seen that coming at that point in time, given the manager's comments prior. So yeah, it'll be intriguing to see what happens with regards to that. I would like Rangers to invoke that clause and keep him. I'm a big Hagi fan. I get, Stevie, sometimes you want them to turn up against the lesser teams in the division. Sometimes you're looking at your big players and he disappoints on occasion, which I would like to see him producing it on a consistent basis and not just the big games.
And listen, what I would say on that, Derek, is I've maybe been harsh on him because I think I know where he can be, and then you see him put in that level of performance and you're really impressed by him, and then he dips a bit, and I'm probably harsh on him in that way. But you can't possibly, from my point of view, say, or I can't say Yanis Hagi dips and not say this is a team thing, because when we go away from home, like they all, panic, and it looks like they've met an hour before the game. So it's not just a Yanis Hagi thing, and I don't want it to come across as being very anti Yanis Hagi. He has impressed me more than I've kind of expected at times when he's been back in the team. So I have to credit him for that, and I'm delighted that he's producing numbers and things like that. So I definitely think as well, worth saying, that at the moment he should be in the first team, and he should be playing definitely on that left side, middle. Eggman, Danilo, Hagi's journey, I think, is where we really need to be, and I think Hagi's a big part of that, and he's got a terrific passing wise, and he can make passing really well. He can certainly shoot, as we know, and he can pitch in. So does he lack a wee bit of consistency? I think that's fair, but at the same time, I think that we all do. So I'm not rewriting history on my opinion of Yanis Hagi. I'm trying to praise him for his contribution, which I think he deserves in the last 6 to 8 weeks. So I'd like him certainly when we're at St Mirren. I'd like him certainly when we're at Hibs to be playing in Dundee and things and help the team get those results. But as I said, that's a collective as well as it being Yanis Hagi, up in his levels kind of thing. So that's the away form, Derek, is something we need to fix. Tonight's draw in the cup. Take anybody at home, wouldn't we? It's the God's honest truth. You take absolutely anyone at Ibrox. So that's kind of where we are at this minute in time. So Yanis does deserve praise for where he's been the last 6 to 8 weeks, especially given what he went through in the summer and the situation surrounding that. So I don't want to seem like I'm being really critical of Yanis Hagi for his away performances where it's a complete collective.
Right, we'll wrap up there. Just a heads up what's to come, folks. Those of you that are Rangers Review Extra members, I'm going to be speaking to G Motorshead, who is part of the hugely popular Man United podcast, the Stretford Paddock. So we're going to get a bit of an insight into Rangers' opponents on Thursday. Apparently, the worst ever Man United team in the history of the club, Stevie, according to Ruben Amorim. That was quite a statement yesterday. They were beaten again by Brighton at home.
Yeah, it's funny because you just instantly think of the old Jim Carrey. So you're telling me, is there a chance kind of meme, don't you? That's the way my head works. And do you know, it's amazing, isn't it? And it's probably a lesson for me, who sits and moans about Philip Clement, but they were desperate to get rid of Ten Hag, desperate to get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, desperate to get rid of their managers. And Almiron's come in, and he's a good coach. He's got a good reputation. Sporting Lisbon, you've seen how they dismantled Man City and things like that, and they were a really good playing side. And he's come in to Man United, and there's no magic wand, and there's, it's not like he's went in and been able to shift everything. The squad, that team's in a complete malaise. And if you want to be adult about it and look at it and not be emotional and react like I do on a match day and stuff, then you look at it and you think Patrick Stewart's maybe had a look at that situation, had a look at Manchester United, had a look at the wider issues that they've got, and decided that Rangers need to have a look at that wider as well. That there's probably reasons behind his decision as well. So no, Manchester United's a really interesting one, Derek. They are more than capable. How seriously will they take Thursday? Because he needs a result against Fulham next weekend as well. So it's only fair that they should rest Diallo and stuff like that as well. So
they'll be looking at this. They'll also be looking at this as a chance to win it and get in the Champions League. I don't think they've got a hope in hell of winning this competition, but he needs a result. But I think it's an ideal opportunity to play Man United at this point in time, because they are not only on the pitch but off it. They're a mess.
It's just a shame that Diamande and Suter, the likes of Danilo and Hagi and things aren't in the squad, that they'll miss out. That's a lot from our team, Derek. But then, as the manager talks about solutions, Redvan did really well against Tottenham at home. He was such a good ball carrier on the left. We'll just need to find solutions. And you've got Hamza. You want...
You'll relish that on Thursday.
Listen, see if he turns in a performance and bags a goal, you're adding millions of pounds to his value, and you're really shooting him into the limelight, because Old Trafford, everybody will be watching, and that's a big statement for him. And you know what? See, when he's playing, if he's in the mood, then you've always got that opportunity up front as well, Derek. So, and the captain, obviously Cyril, he can pop up as well with the third game or 2-0 up or something. So no, it's one for us where we can relish a wee bit. Nobody expected us to go to Olympiacos and get anything. Nobody really expected us to go to Nice and perform the way we did. I don't think anyone expected us to get anything off Tottenham either. I'm not even sure that we thought we would win in Malmo. If we're quite honest about the stages throughout Europe, I'm not sure there was overly positivity about many of them. So Stoya at home, we all thought we should win that one. But I think we go to Old Trafford, and if we can turn in a performance then of those levels in Europe that we've hit before, then I think we've got a chance against almost anyone. But at the same time, Manchester United have still got massive depth in their squad and massive capabilities, and we've seen what the youth team did to us at Murrayfield, albeit in a friendly. They're still incredibly strong. So just need to wait and see how it turns out. We should go and enjoy it. We'll concentrate on the performance, put in a good shift, and then the rest will come.
Put in a vintage European display. I can see Rangers coming away with a positive result from Old Trafford. Very much looking forward to it. If anything, I think more trepidation about going to Tannadice on Sunday than Old Trafford, such as this Rangers team. But there we go. We'll worry about that once we get Thursday out the way. But
Ruben Almiron, Jim Goodwin, it's like...
Tell you what, Dundee United are doing pretty well under Jim Goodwin. Really hit a bit of form, of course. I can see them. Well, that'll be a good derby tonight. The pair of them in the Scottish Cup. I can't really call that, but interesting and big week ahead for Rangers, of course. And let's hope it's a good, satisfying week as well. But we'll call it time there. Big thank you to Stevie for joining us. As ever, a big thank you for you all for tuning in to the show. Just a reminder, just hit that subscribe button, folks, if you aren't a subscriber already to the channel. Hit the notification bell. You'll never miss a video when we go live. Right, if I don't speak to you later when we're talking to the Man United podcaster, then enjoy your Monday and we'll chat to you later on. Bye for now.